Hello and welcome. We'll be looking at Searching PubMed effectively. PubMed is a government website based at the National Library of Medicine. It contains over 23 million biomedical and life science publications. Searching it effectively can be a very useful strategy. It is also relevant because the mechanism for searching PubMed is remarkably similar to the method for searching nucleotide and protein sequence databases.
Our objectives include searching by author, for instance, finding papers written by a particular individual, either by using the last name format or by using one or two initials. We will also look at how to search with field tags. In other words, limiting your search to very specific fields in PubMed. We will search by subject and combine searches with subject and an author name. That is a Boolean operation. We will look at the MESH database. MESH has a controlled vocabulary that allows for more effective searches of PubMed. We will use filters. Filters help narrow down to certain types of papers. We will also examine the truncated searches, which allow for searching for variations of a particular word. First, let's go to PubMed. There is an address for PubMed at the National Library of Medicine. However, PubMed.gov, that is PubMed.gov, is a working alias, so PubMed.gov will take you to the NIH website where PubMed is hosted. Let's use the word Grider and search. You will see some papers that include an author named Grider, which I just highlighted. You will also see some papers where Grider is not listed as an author. Carol Grider is a Nobel Prize-winning researcher of telomeres, so perhaps Grider was mentioned in that particular paper. We'll look at a way to avoid those kinds of results shortly. The last name Grider finds 223 results in PubMed. If I want to limit further to specific authors with the last name Grider, I can add a first initial. So Grider C would narrow down to 102 papers. You can see that Carol Grider's second initial is W. A one-initial search will find all variations of C, so C followed by any second initial, or just C by itself. I could further narrow by adding the second initial. You see, that narrows the search down to 94 papers.
So basically, last name is the broadest search. One initial is a little more specific, and two initials are the most specific. Some authors use more than two initials. However, PubMed limits searches to two initials, and PubMed actually only enters two initials for any author.
Okay, now I mentioned there is a way to avoid matching words outside the author field. I'm going to go back to searching for Grider, last name only. If you noticed, the first paper did not have Grider as an author, so I'm going to open that paper now. When you open a record, it's going to show the abstract. So here's the abstract, and you can see that it says that the 2009 Nobel Prize in Medicine was awarded to, there it is, Blackburn, Stozak, and Grider. So her name is in the abstract and not in the author field. The author field lists only one author, and that is Wang. So, if I want to limit the search to only the author field, the way to do that would be to type Grider, bracket, author. Now, I only see those papers where Grider is in the author field. I eliminated that result and others where Grider was in the abstract. Basically, by putting brackets around the field name, I can limit a specific term to a particular field. There are acceptable abbreviations. For instance, if I had typed bracket AU, AU is an accepted abbreviation for author. I would get the same result. There are a list of fields available that are searchable, including the author field. Now, suppose I wanted to search by subject. There are several ways to do it, and usually one of the easiest ways to do it is to simply type in the subject. So I'm going to type in RNAi. RNA interference is a very, very popular search topic and a very important topic in life science. RNAi was famously studied by Craig Mello and Andrew Fire. So let's say that I want to get papers on RNAi by Craig Mello. I can type in RNAi and Mello bracket author. Now what you might notice is that and is capitalized, and for all searches you should capitalize the Boolean operators. Boolean operators are and, not, and or. This gets me papers that are about RNAi and are written by an author named Mello, which gives me 27 papers. Some of them have RNAi in the title. Some of them don't. So, if I want to further limit RNAi to the title field, after RNAi, I would type bracket title. And you see that it is now narrowed to 10 papers that have RNAi in the title. You can see RNAi bolded in the title field of each paper. Okay, so we can see how to limit to very specific fields. We can also see how to use the AND operator. Be sure to use all capital letters for all Boolean operators so that it doesn't look for the word AND as a search term. There is another way to search PubMed by subject. That involves using the MESH database. MESH, which stands for Medical Subheadings, uses a controlled vocabulary. It allows for more consistent, complete searches. Some writers use different words to describe the same phenomenon. The controlled vocabulary is used to index each specific paper consistently. There is a very good video on YouTube provided by the National Library of Medicine, and it is available at this address. And you can view that video called Using Mesh to Build a Better PubMed Query for more information. Quickly though, if I want to search RNAi, instead of PubMed, I would now search the MESH database. And you see that the preferred term, again, this is a controlled vocabulary, is RNA, small interfering. If I want to search PubMed, I would simply add it to the search builder, and maybe even add and Mello bracket author, and then click Search PubMed. I actually got 25 papers, some different than the ones I got using the same search with just RNAi. That's because sometimes the term RNAi might not have been used in those particular papers, but those papers are about RNA interference. Therefore, I get those additional papers using the controlled vocabulary. You might also notice that on the left menu are a series of filters. Those filters include article type, so if I want only review papers, I would click Review, and that would narrow it down further. A popular one is text availability. Most papers, when you open the record, it only shows the abstract, but most papers have a link to full text, and sometimes the full text comes at a cost from the publisher. Sometimes it's free, and very often you would want free full text. Why not? If I click the Free Full Text Available filter, then I narrow down to 16 papers. Now, when I click that first paper, I know that there is a link that reads Cell Press, and it says Free in PMC in the upper right corner. When I click that link, I am going to be able to download the entire paper for no cost because I chose that filter of free full text. That's very useful if you are not at an institution that subscribes to a bunch of specific journals that would allow you to have access to them.
The truncated search can be very useful if there are variations of a word. For instance, if you're unsure of spelling or if there's a singular plural issue, an asterisk can represent the rest of the word. The asterisk can only come at the end of the word and not at the beginning or the middle.
Immunoglow asterisk will hit both the singular immunoglobulin and the plural immunoglobulins. You don't need to search twice. It's also very useful for an author name if you don't know the spelling. However, there is a limitation. It only shows the first 600 alphabetic variants. For instance, if you are using the name McDonald, and you're not quite sure if it's McDonald or McDonald's son, then it is better to type MCDON star than just MCD star. Put in as much of the spelling as possible. An example of that particular type of search is to type immunoglow star and Smith bracket AU. I now get papers on immunoglobulin and immunoglobulins. The last topic to cover involved the date fields, both EDAT for entry date, meaning the date that that paper was entered into PubMed, or PDAT, publication date, meaning the date on the journal itself, for instance, the January 9th issue of Science. Ways to limit to specific dates include year. 2014 will limit you to the entire year 2014, or 1998 for the entire year 1998. Year/month. So 2014/03 will give you all of March 2014. Finally, the specific date. 2014/03/17 gives you March 17th, 2014. It's most commonly used in a range of dates. 1998/02 : the colon indicates a range. 2013/09/27. That translates to February 1st. Since it's at the beginning of the range, you get the whole month of February. February 1st, 1998 through September 27th, 2013. An alternative type of date search is last 19 days in quotes, bracket EDAT. Of course, the number can vary. So, for example, if I had heard about a paper that was submitted to Nature within the last 10 days, I would type last 10 days, in quotes, bracket EDAT. I know that it was submitted within the last 10 days, not with a publication date within the last 10 days, and Nature, bracket, journal. That limits the search to the journal Nature. Well, here is a good lesson. I still have a filter activated. The filter is free full text available, and Nature doesn't have free full text, so there are no results. I have to clear that filter because those filters persist. So if you use those filters, be very, very careful. They stay on in subsequent searches unless you turn them off. Now, if I want to limit to a particular date range, let's say we know that it was toward the end of 2011 or the beginning of 2012, somewhere around that time frame. So let's go for all of November 11 to, well, let's get all of February 2012. So let's type 2011/11 : 2012/02 bracket EDAT. Let's say it's a science paper, so capital AND Science, bracket, journal. And it was something about DNA, so I'll put in DNA. I found 37 papers that were in the journal Science that were about DNA and sorta toward the end of 2011 or beginning of 2012. Maybe I could now sort through and find the paper I was thinking about.
This concludes our exercise on PubMed, and I think the best way to really learn it is to go to PubMed and play around a little bit with some of these field tags and Boolean operators and see what you come up with. Good luck.